have a copy of the minutes?
I went on eBay and I bought a six-pack.
Any additions or corrections?
Make a motion.
Motion for the minutes?
I'm listening.
Who's second?
I'll say.
All in favor? Okay, it's unanimous. You have a list of the transfers. Any questions on those? Just routine, all of them, but we'll make sure if there's any questions. If not, I'll entertain a motion they be approved.
So moved.
Bill second. All in favor? Okay, it's unanimous. And then you have a copy of the bills plus these hand checks. Want to change one of the hand checks. This is for the meeting, the Kentucky Magistrates meeting, got $65. Who was it going to say?
Just double it, we're gonna add Rick.
Rick is going, so instead of being $65, it would be $130 to pay the registration. So, any questions on any of the bills? If not, I'll entertain a motion with that one being 130 instead of 65. Bill and Kelly. All in favor? Okay, it is unanimous. We need to note in the minutes that the sheriff fees were $226,629.99. Clerk fees were $38,404.28. And I completed my 40 hours of training for this year and got a check for it. And we have Mr. John Simpson here to introduce some folks and tell us something about tourism.
Good morning, Judge. Good morning, magistrates and other officials here, Stacy and our County Attorney Glenn. I'm John Simpson. I'm with the Tourism Commission. I've been in that position for about 17 years now. I have the wonderful job of promoting a wonderful community, and it's a pleasure to be here this morning, even though it's Friday the 13th. Lori and I are celebrating Valentine's Day. We both wore red. I've got a couple of visitors. They didn't get the memo, so they're not wearing the red this morning. I have left some information at your stations about tourism. Mostly it's our local ordinance, it's our state statutes, and it's our local guiding principles for our local office, our bylaws, our employee manual, and so forth. There's also a tab in there that shows our budget. I've also left a business card there, so please feel free to call me, feel free to come by. We meet the third Tuesday of the month, and I would really encourage and appreciate you all coming to some of our meetings and seeing how we conduct our business. Might be interested to know that the Tourism Commission was founded in 1974. Judge Lusby was on the city council at the time that the commission was founded, so we've been in this community for a long time. We've done a lot for this community in promoting our community and bringing visitors to our community. The commission is governed by a 7-member commission that are appointed by Judge Lusby and the mayor of Georgetown. And we have a process that's dictated by the state statutes of how people are appointed. I'm just a staff person. I just carry on the day-to-day operations of the commission. I brought 3 visitors with me that are very important to me and very important to our efforts here in this community. First person I'd like to introduce is Lori Saunders. Lori has been with the Tourism Commission for, I guess, about 18 months or so, going on 2 years. Some of you may know Lori because she's been a super volunteer for our community in a variety of events. And I'm blessed to have her on my staff, and our community is blessed to have her representing our community. I know of no one that I've ever worked with who has more enthusiasm for their job and is more dedicated to what she does, and we're very blessed to have her. Lori is passing out some publications, and I'd appreciate if you all just kind of share them among yourselves because I didn't have enough to give you these. We need these back because they're tear sheets, but you'll find pages marked that show an example of some of the advertising that the commission does. Some of the things that we do brochures that promote our community. We have a website, an extensive website that promotes our community. We represent our community in regional and state advocacy. So we are out there promoting our community to state and also working on behalf of tourism in general to promote our community. I want to be brief. I know you all are very busy today. So, again, if you have any questions regarding the material that we've left with you, please don't hesitate to call or ask. Drop by our office. We're right next to the Factory Stores of America. We've been there. We own our building. We paid it off a little over a year ago, so we're proud landowners of our building. And I brought two very special guests this morning that I would like to introduce and let them tell you a little bit about what they do. I didn't get bios for them, so I'm going to start with Lee Carter. Lee Carter is the president of Equestrian Events Incorporated. That is the Rolex event. That's his job, is to put on the Rolex event. The people I brought with me this morning represent the biggest attraction in our community, and in fact in our region, the Kentucky Horse Park, which is Jamie Link, I'll introduce in a minute. And Lee represents the biggest event that occurs in our community. A lot of people have criticized me in the past saying, well, why are you promoting the horse park? It's in Fayette County. Well, my response to that is the best 200 acres of the horse park is in Scott County. We have a claim to the horse park. Part of the park is in our county. It also impacts us a great deal. This year we have a lot of great things coming up. Pretty soon here we have the Horsey 100. Well, first we have the Rolex coming up in April. After that we have the Horsey 100 bicycle event that brings in over 2,000 cyclists from across the country. In fact, we have international riders that come in for that event. And this year, for the first time ever, the Breeders' Cup event is going to be held at Keeneland. Our rooms are already booked up for that. All of Lexington's already booked up for that event that weekend. That weekend also falls on the Tennessee-UK football game, which is adding more pressure to the room nights. Also, the National Horse Show is that time. With that, I'd like to have Lee come up and tell. Lee is a resident of Georgetown. He's a graduate of Georgetown College. He worked for the National Tour Association, which is a motor coach marketing association based in Lexington. And I'm proud to say he's on my board of directors. He was appointed to the Tourism Commission about 3 years ago, and this year he's serving as our vice chair. So Lee, tell them a little bit about what you do.
Thanks, John. Judge, appreciate you entertaining us for a few minutes today. As John mentioned, I am a Georgetown resident. Have been in Georgetown for about 25 years, so I remember when we kind of started at Burger King and as the community has grown. So I appreciate all that you all do for the community. With Equestrian Events, we do run the Rolex Kentucky 3-day event. Last year we had about 78 people come to the event over the 4 days. Our economic impact is $14.2 million. We did work at the University of Kentucky a couple years ago to do a study of the event. So we're impactful. As John said, we take pride in our connection with Georgetown, the fact that we're very closely associated. If you come to Rolex and then you come into Georgetown, we're dollars to the community. We're new dollars to the community. So it's a very impactful opportunity for us. We're excited about the event this year. We hope, if you haven't been recently, we hope that you'll come back out and join us. We've added some different things. Our goal is to, once folks come, we've got them captured from about 9 to 5. And then after that, we want to introduce them to other things in the community and the surrounding area, and Georgetown's a big part of that. So we appreciate, again, your all support, your involvement, all that you do for the community, and hope to see you in April out at the horse park.
How many of you had an opportunity to go to the Rolex event? I hope you all raise your hands, because if you don't, you need to go see it. It's quite an event. It's a very entertaining event, and it has a huge impact on our community. Next, I'd like to introduce Mr. Jamie Link. A little background of why we're here today. A couple of years ago, I was talking to another elected official, local official, and I mentioned the name John Nicholson. John, at that time, was the executive director of the Kentucky Horse Park, and this person who had been on city council for 20 years didn't know who he was. And that stunned me. I thought there's something wrong here, that the biggest attraction in our region, that our elected officials don't know who this person is, who has such an impact on our community. I called John and told him, and we were going to get together and do this at a meeting, and John retired before we ever got the opportunity to do this. So when Jamie came on board a couple of months ago, I called him and told him the same story, and I said, I want to invite you to come meet our fiscal court, meet our city council. These people need to know who you are and what you do and why you impact our community. So with that, I can tell you a little bit about Jamie's background. Jamie has extensive experience in state government. He was with the Department of Travel for a number of years. Most recently, he served in the governor's office. More importantly for us, in 2010, he was the executive director of the World Equestrian Games. Is that right, executive director, or was it president of the World Equestrian Games? That was the biggest year to that date that we had ever had in tourism in Georgetown. The 2 months of September and October of that year, each month we did what we would normally do in our best month of the year. So that had a huge impact. The World Games had a huge impact on our tourism impact here. So with that, I'd like Jamie to tell you a little bit about, but I want you more importantly to remember these guys and know who they are and what they do for our community.
Morning, Judge. Morning, members of the court. I'll reintroduce myself. As John said, I was here about 5 years ago when the World Equestrian Games was about to take place there at the horse park. But John touched on it earlier about I view the park as being both. It's not a Fayette County facility. It's a Central Kentucky facility, and it resides obviously both within Fayette and Scott counties. And Christy Robinson's here. I think you've heard from her more about the Legacy Trail, and we've been working with Christy and some others to see how we can connect the Fayette County portion of the Legacy Trail to the new proposed Scott County portion of the trail. And that is I think a very important tourism facility, will be. The fitness craze right now is enormous. And I really want to see the horse park. Equestrian sport will always be our primary goal, our primary mission at the horse park. But tourism is equally as important, and tourism encompasses more than just equestrian sport, obviously. We have, I think, one of the finest event facilities anywhere in the country. So how can we make the horse park more of a community asset, more of a Central Kentucky asset, and more of an economic driver in this region? As John mentioned, I've been there for 3 months now. We've had a significant management change at the horse park with retirements and other departures. So I'm new, 3 months. Our deputy director's been there 5 months. Our new maintenance director's been there 1 month, and we don't have a financial director. So all of us are wearing several different hats right now, but we're in a relatively quiet period of the year before things really get going in April with the Rolex event kind of kicking off the season. And we're doing a lot of work right now at the horse park to work on our budget and understand our budget. We have about 200 plus events scheduled at the horse park this year, and they range anywhere from small meetings to events the size of the Rolex Kentucky 3-day event. And no offense to Lee, who is a very good friend, his event's probably the largest and the highest profile event we have at the park, but it's not the largest event in terms of the number of horses we have at the park. In the summer months, we'll have some events that will have more than 2,500 horses there. And there's really no other facility that can accommodate anything quite like that. So we're very proud of the park. We do consider ourselves part of this county and this community. We want to be a part of that. I'll be happy to come back at any time to address any questions, tell you what's going on at the park, give you periodic updates. And we really want to be a good partner and a good member of this community. And I'd be happy to address any questions you might have, or feel free to give me a call at any time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jamie, thank you. Also, like I mentioned that Lee is on our board of directors. Roy Cornett just came in, and Roy is also a new tourism commissioner who was appointed a couple of months ago. Well, there you have it. That's a little bit about what we do and the impact that we have. We're having a record year this year. We had a record year last year. Over the best year we ever had was World Equestrian Games year. We did 10% better last year on that. We're having another record year this year. Year to date, you'll see in the numbers, we're 60,000 over last year, year to date. We've been a little surprised by that. We weren't expecting that because we didn't budget for that. People ask me why that is, and the real answer is the dynamic tourism director that in Georgetown Scott County has had an impact that you can't imagine. Well, in all seriousness, the impact is caused by these guys. The horse park, when the World Equestrian Games came in, they did extensive additions to the infrastructure at the park. That has brought an incredible number of events, particularly in the wintertime, that we never had before. That's had a huge impact. Construction at Toyota has had a huge impact on us. We're going to have some road construction up at the interchange on I-75 soon. That's going to have an impact. And I hate to say that another impact has been the storms that we had a few months ago that brought in a lot of roofing companies to help people replace roofs that were hail damaged. But all those things have added up. We're on a really good trajectory this year. Next year is looking good as well. If you have any questions, please call me, call Lori, call these gentlemen. We appreciate the opportunity to be here this morning and tell you a little bit about us, and hope you'll drop by and see us. We meet on Tuesday. Come sit in.
Thank you, John. Lord, you want your books back?
Yes, sir.
I wish I could leave those.
Well, it's all right.
We did leave you some of our brochures, and feel free to visit our website, www.georgetownky.com.
Thank you.
Hey,
Thank you,
John,
folks.
I was gonna thank you for this.
Oh, you're
Because
welcome.
that's, I wish every group that we work with or comes before us would prepare.
I do that
Documentation.
periodically. Every 2 or 3 years, I try and bring this in because I know people misplace their information, or they, we're one of those agencies, people don't really know sometimes what we do.
Right.
And unless you pick up Southern Living or some of these other publications, you may not see advertisements that we do, because a lot of what we do is out-of-state oriented, because that's what we're trying to do, is bring visitors in to spend the night in our hotel. So when they stay in the hotel, they eat in our restaurants, they buy gas, they go shopping in our stores. It's a huge impact. Lori prepared, she gave you some information in there too about the economic impact, but the state's numbers are $85 million in direct economic impact by tourism to Scott County alone. That's a pretty big number. Thank you.
We need to declare as junk in the clerk's office a copier, and the serial number is there. Need a motion to declare that as junk, and we'll dispose of it. Chad? Got a second? Evan? All in favor? Okay, that is unanimous. I ask Bill and Rick to talk about the constable lights. I don't know if you're ready for recommendation at this time, but I know you've met. I've talked to Rick. so-
We met on Saturday, January 31st at Fava's. It was a breakfast meeting. If you're gonna meet, you might as well eat.
That's fine.
And we went over the criteria that we had received from another county through Attorney Williams' office, and some criteria that we felt was important. We have merged the two, and I've given everybody copies of what we came up with. The changes that Rick and I recommend are highlighted. I'm going to suggest that we give this further discussion during a workshop, so that we can all have input into it and chew on a little bit, and then go from the workshop to an ordinance phase at that point.
Okay. So we'll look at these over, and then our workshop will be the first Friday in March. And then you'll be, okay,
We'll
sounds
go from
good.
there.
Then we'll vote on them at the next Friday,
Yes.
provided we agree on things. Okay, appreciate it. Anything want to add, Rick?
No, well, just briefly, I think, as Bill said, we kind of went through this, got a lot of things from Mr. Williams and some other counties we talked to, but it's either come up with an ordinance, it looks like, or don't allow it. I mean, that's kind of what I see, and what we kind of see as the choices. It's some kind of an ordinance, or we don't allow them. So that's kind of where we're at, and that was another thing we gonna chew on it, and maybe talk about it again at the work session.
Okay.
Yeah, one note, and I agree with Mr. Burke, Mr. Hostetler, I think the court would be well advised to put it into an ordinance form. You can adopt this by order, but quite frankly, it's gonna be better if you do it by ordinance. And I think your all suggestions are well taken.
Thank you.
If we can reach an agreement on what the court would like, and I can take that back and then draft it into an ordinance form, we could have our first reading and then ultimate adoption later.
Okay, well, like I said, I think that's best done at a workshop. That way everybody has input, and we can go from there.
Okay, sounds good. Good to be.
One other thing, Jim.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
That's all
Another thought, in the workshop, the constable in my area is interested in being able to comment. So thought maybe.
That'd be great, yeah.
Exactly, and
Yeah.
I kinda wanted to bring that up, so I thought I would extend him an invitation, and maybe all of them, if they're interested in coming to that workshop. I don't know what you think about that, but,
I think it'd be good if you invite them all.
okay.
They don't have to come, but if.
Right, no, right, but
Yeah.
wanted to make it available.
Yeah.
He asked that he'd like to have some input, and I said,
Yeah.
well, I think that should be okay,
Yeah.
so.
Great.
I would add that The last time I took typing was a junior in high school, a long time ago. So I'm living proof that the hands are faster than the eyes. There is a typo on line 1 that I will have fixed.
Okay,
Sorry.
don't worry about
I
that.
know.
Nobody would have caught
I
that,
noticed
Bill.
I
it
just
too.
corrected it when I was sitting here.
I noticed it too.
All right. Moving on, we had a vacancy at the Animal Control Office, and Kathy is recommending a lady, I hope I can pronounce her name right, I think it's a lady, Tara Albaquist, and we had a background check, and it came back without any problems. And she's recommending we hire her, and I need a motion to that effect.
So moved.
Bill? Any questions? All in favor? Okay, that is unanimous. Dave got a request.
Seems to be a theme. I have a request to hire a replacement paramedic. I had one of my full-time resigned to go to a hospital job, and I have a gentleman to replace him, Joseph Ellis, at $10.79 an hour, full-time with benefits. And the other gentleman requested to stay part-time with us.
Yeah, I'm looking to read it first. Did Bill, or Alvin? Bill? Any questions or discussion? All in favor? Okay, it's unanimous.
I have, while I'm up here, I have a couple of items that came up this week, if I could
Go ahead.
take some time. I'd like to request travel for 2 of us to go over to the plant in North Carolina and finalize the plans on the ambulance that's being built to make sure we've got everything correct before it hits production. They're building the module part right now, which is built off-site, and they're estimating that'll be back in about 4 weeks. So we wanted to go review electrical plans, look at the chassis, and that would be the first week of March. And we'll borrow the pool car and go over to, it's in Jefferson, North Carolina, so it'll be an overnight trip.
Anytime someone goes out of state, they have to request permission. That's what he's asking. Is there a motion to that effect? Rick and Alvin. All in favor?
And to go along with that, the company we use for that stretcher, so Stryker Company, we bought the replacement from the one that was in the accident back in November. One of the components on that stretcher is retrofitted to use with what they call a power load system. And that would be a complete loading system that takes all the effort off the employee, and it lifts the stretcher into the ambulance by itself. The federal government is going to mandate revisions to the ambulance regulations effective probably this July that will require a beefed up stretcher mounting system in all ambulances to prevent stretcher detachment so the patient doesn't come loose in the back of the ambulance. I don't know exactly what regulation is going to be recommended. It's either going to be the KKK, which is Government Services Administration, or the NFPA, which is a fire regulation. The company that we buy this from, she has a demo unit that's never been installed in the ambulance. It's normally about $26,000 piece of equipment, and she's offering it to me for $17,000. We can send that to the factory, retrofit that piece of equipment in the new ambulance. The stretcher will hook up into the power load system. Any new ambulance after July will have to buy with a different system in it anyway, so that would add cost, and I can save about $6,000 or $7,000 by doing it this way, since it is a brand new truck. We're right here at that point where after July we'd have to spec it in the truck anyway.
Will they certify and warrant that new system?
Yes, it's just like a brand new system. It's never been installed in an ambulance. It was ordered for another company, and they canceled their order, so it's never been installed. It's still in the box. And it's $17,000, and I have it in a budget item. I could take it out to put it with the ambulance. I just need to move on it this week.
Did you say this is a new mandate that's coming
In July, they're going to change the regulations, and it's primarily around safety
from the federal government?
from the federal government.
They didn't send a blank check?
Unfunded, unfortunately.
Unfunded mandates.
Will that new order affect existing vehicles or just new purchases?
anything after July that's ordered, we'll be required to have go with the new spec. And we had a state board meeting yesterday, and they're gonna adopt the same federal rules, obviously, with the state, so.
Need a motion to?
I'll make a motion on David's recommendation that we save the $7,000 by buying the one he recommends.
Is there a second?
That's what Charlie said.
Okay.
Any other questions or discussion? All in favor?
Thank you all very much.
It's unanimous. One of the worst things that's happened in this county since I've been county judge is Jane's gonna retire in June. And her job is very complicated. She's does an excellent job with it. But it's gonna take a while to train somebody to do all the things that she does. And I've talked to two different people that do computers, and I said, you know, how long will it take to learn all of this? And one of them said, at least a year, and the other one said 3 months. So I need to hire somebody to start learning all of the things, particularly when you deal with the retirement system, the payroll, the forms that we get. It's not something that you can come in and 2 weeks later. And I would like permission to hire someone to, right away, to advertise and get somebody who's really skilled in computer work and train them till July 1. And one of the bad things about learning this job, if Jane, I'm not gonna let her leave town, but you got to, July 1, you got to change all the figures in the budget, and you got, if we give raises, you got to change all the salaries. So they're critical times, and it's going to take a while to do this, but I need to advertise and interview people and put them on the payroll. They can't come and not be on the payroll. So when I interview them, I'll talk about salary. I don't know what to do that. Bill?
How much of Jane's job is actually financing the county, and how much of it is human resources?
Human resources is, to my knowledge, zero. I mean, yeah, I mean, we work with Glenn on things that, somebody that's out on workers' comp, you know, and those type of things. But yeah, I wouldn't say zero, but her main job is, she's not the human resource person.
Okay.
Kara handles that, but we all work together on it. Kara, and Jane, Glenn, and Glenn.
I can assure you, Jane, a lot smarter than me, and she has so much knowledge that's gonna have to be,
Transferred.
yeah, it's phenomenal. I've told Jane before that if this court is required to accept the resignation, she may not get a positive vote on that, so.
Well, she's turning 55 and she wants to get out. But-
Judge, in the job description it's currently for the treasurer, is there certain types of certifications that are required, such as
I'd
an
have to look
accountant?
at it, but there will be, yeah. And the thing, when we hired treasurers before, a lot of it has increased the things that she does. And we'll have to.
You'll require all the.
Oh, yeah,
the
all
new
everything that we
certifications.
need, right. And then you always put in any other duties assigned, so that covers. But I do need a motion to advertise and start trying to find the right person. Bill, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, any questions? Any questions for Jane? All right, all in favor?
I'm gonna have to say no, because I'd like to see what the job description is first, because it obviously does need updating by what I just heard, and so I'd like to see what the job description is first before we go out to advertise for it, so.
Okay.
But it's 7-1.
7-1.
It is what it is.
We don't like everything to be unanimous anyway. Okay, we'll do it. I want to give you folks a test, and this is a good one. This is about the budget. Yeah, give a little ways. I think I took too many for this end. I don't know.
Do I have one, David?
I got, here, they're coming.
I think that's,
Got too many?
that's good.
Okay. What I did 3 or 4 years ago was have the magistrates estimate what they thought the revenue would be for the county for the coming fiscal year. And the way that I do when I make the budget is look back 5 years past of how much we've taken in each year. And then you get the monthly report from Jane of how much, we've got 7 months of revenue so far this year on that report. And I would ask each one of you to go through and put on the line there what you would estimate that we're going to take in revenue, so we'll know how much we think we're going to have from everybody. And I want to go over some of them that I have highlighted, because some of these things you won't have any background knowledge on because you haven't been here. And I've highlighted, starting there with 4102 code, tangible personal property tax. Last year, we voted to cut that in half. So even though we've taken in $124,000 last year, the rate was cut in half. So you need to be aware of that. It won't be $124,000. It'll probably be half of that. Then skipping down to the other one that I highlighted that you need some information on, 4104 delinquent property tax. I talked to Gerald and Tony about the delinquent property tax, and that's, the delinquent is way down. The actual tax is up. So even though we took in $51,800 in delinquent tax from Gerald, that's correct, isn't it? That the delinquent taxes are way down. I think
Yes,
you've
sir.
got over 80% or something already.
We're at almost 98% collected already, so.
Yeah,
we
so
figure by the time-
delinquent tax is gonna be down, so you need to keep that in mind. Then, the occupational payroll tax, and this is the biggie, 4134, in 2000, at the end of 2014, we took in 12,569,000. If you look back, how it's gone up each year, this just to help you in doing your math. It's been going up about $500,000 a year, roughly. Sometimes a little more and sometimes a little less. We know that the incentive package we gave is gonna be $2.5 million less. So keep that in mind when you do your math on that.
So that's $2.5 million of payroll tax, not
But
of net profit
it'd be on payroll tax.
Okay.
Just on payroll tax. But it's gonna go up some, you know.
I
I
understand.
mean, it has every year, as you can see. Then net profits tax, if you see in 2014, 4,286,000. Well, don't think we're gonna get that much next year. If you look back at the 4 preceding years, 900,000, 1.1 million, 900,000, 1.3 million. And that is the wildest guess that you can have. And I talked to one of the executives of one of the larger businesses here in town, and I asked him. I said, "What would you put in there?" And he said, "I'd put 0." I hope we get something in net profit. That's all the businesses in town, and but I would look. What I look is not at 2014, but at what the previous 4 years were, and hope it'd be 4 million, but history doesn't show that. Then the next one down, the 9/11 telephone tax, almost all of that comes from the 50-cent tax we have on landlines. And if you look back to 2010, we took in 181,000, and every year that has dropped. That's because more and more people are getting cell phones, and so you're losing that 50-cent tax there. County clerk fees, Ms. Johnson was in here at the last meeting and said that her fees, she estimated were gonna be down, I believe she said $100,000. It was gonna be down, it won't be up, according to her. So keep that in mind. Electrical inspection fees, you look at last year, 2014, 148,000, but look at the 4 years previous to that, you'll see that that's numbers up a lot. That was due to all the work that's been going on out at Toyota. You know about that, Rick? I guess y'all have been doing some of it. You haven't? No. So, but that's gonna be something you need to keep in mind. Then, state grants, 4510. We've gotten state grants the last 5 years. What I put in that one when I do it is $100, because you may not get anything, and that's a wash. If we get a $100,000 state grant, then on the expense side, we're gonna spend that $100,000. So that would not actually be money we could use for something else.
George,
Yeah.
did that number include the 80/20 bridge programs?
No,
They're not
that
in
comes
there.
on the road.
That's what I.
Road department. A good example, you see 4512 Homeland Security. We didn't get anything for 4 years, and then last year we got 13,000. So we need to keep it in the budget, but you may get a grant, you may not. We apply for grants, and sometimes we get them, and sometimes we don't. 4532, you saw we were getting 300,000, 270,000. Space rental, administrative office of the court, well, they don't rent anymore, so that'll be zero. They were renting the building next to the Justice Building, and they moved their offices inside the Justice Building, so that one be zero. And then, here's another one. I don't know, Glenn, if you know anything about this one. 4561, you can see on fees charged from district court, the amounts, and then last year, 221,000. I don't know whether that's something that's gonna keep on, Glenn?
I do not.
And but take a guess. That's all you can do on these budgets, is go back 5 years and make some kind of a,
I mean, we have more crime in Scott County?
I does not know.
Well, there may be some adjustment on the fees that were designated for the county. Ms. Beam would know that, most likely. I bet she'd be able to help the court with future.
What to expect, yeah. Because if you were going from the previous 4 years, you'd probably guess about somewhere in the neighborhood of 90 to 100,000. But then you throw that 221,000 in there, and that skews the whole thing. And then 4603, this is one that you need to be aware of. The city owned the landfill. They sold that several years ago, and it was a 10-year price that they were supposed to pay for it, and the county got a portion, and the city got, of course, they got the biggest portion because it was their landfill. And according to the owner or the CEO of the landfill, they're gonna pay off the balance of that loan. They've been paying $200,000 a year, plus what they call host fees. And if they pay it off, they're supposed to in February of this year, then where you see 261,000 and 243,000, the 200 won't be on there. Now, we'll get the money if we get it this year, and they've come in and talked, and they're gonna pay the loan off. So, and this budget's for next year, for starting in July. So don't count on the 200. We'll get the money, we'll just get it in a different fiscal year. Then turning to page, the other thing on the other page that just keeps going down, down, down is the interest on the money that we've got invested. This goes back, if you look at money market interest, it's stayed about the same, but certificates of deposit, 15 years ago were even less, Mark. We were getting about 1.1 million in interest a year. In 2010, we got 561,000. That's the same amount of money we got invested. Last year, we got 65,000. And we used to bid it out. Now we beg them to take it. Right, Mark? All of us know the situation we're in with interest rates and so forth. And then the other thing, and I'm not asking you to do the county, the road fund, because those figures are given to us by the state, and they'll be what they are. But I will point out, on the county road aid, 4518, the gas tax has gone down, and that number, if the Senate bill that they've got up passes, we'll lose about $150,000 or $60,000 off that. If it doesn't pass, we lose $288,000. But either way, that county road aid is going to be down. But just take care of the general fund, and then the balance on the general fund. Last year, we took in $27,480,000, but that, again, because of that large net profits, if you look back at the 4 years before that, $20,800,000, $21,500,000, $22 million, $23. The 27 was a great year, and the current year is going to be a good year. But the expenses are going to be great too. So we've got to be aware of that. And this is how much money we're going to have to spend, and then how much money are we going to go into our reserve. And we've got a good reserve, but it's got to last for several years, because of the downturn in the tax revenue that we're getting. So this will give you a good idea of what to do. Chad?
Judge, is any of this money earmarked specifically, like, for example, like the county road aid, it has to be spent on roads, I am assuming. Is there anything, this all goes into the general fund?
None of this is a fund by itself.
Okay.
The road fund has to be spent in the road fund. Now,
Okay.
it doesn't have to be spent on blacktop.
Okay.
I mean, it has to be spent on salt and mowing and all of those type of things. You know, we don't have to spend,
So like, for example, the 911 telephone tax doesn't necessarily have to go to paying for the 911 employees and
well,
that type of
we
thing.
take in the tax, it offsets part of
Sure,
the net
yeah, I
loss.
understand.
Yeah, it's a net loss. One of the things, and this doesn't affect Scott County, we're blessed, but a lot of counties, they pay for their whole 911 system out of their money they get. And we've got a 50-cent charge. A lot of them have $2 or $2.50. And on cell phones, the maximum that they can charge now is 70 cents. And we have lobbied the state to let them raise that to $1 on cell phones. That's a whole lot less than what most counties are paying. But again, tax increase, no, you can't do it. And a lot of counties, I don't know what they're going to do. The same thing with the gas tax, if they lose that. But the bottom line is, we supplement our 911 system, as you know. We supplement the road fund big time because of, we take care of our roads, and we're
Right,
blessed
nice.
to have the money, but those are the things. Any other questions about this?
Could we get that in a edible Excel worksheet?
Did you
I
email?
don't even know
Might be easier to,
Yeah, I made it. I'll send it to you.
what kind of edible.
just where we can go in and
Editable.
edible.
Edit. I thought you-
Edible.
I thought he eat it.
No, it's just easier to look at the
later.
Just wanted to
percentages.
digest the numbers, right?
Yeah.
Digest
Chew on it.
You talking about everything I said, or just what I?
No, just the sheet.
I'm choking, Bill.
Yes, I will send you the sheet.
How much
Thank you.
manure on you?
He's being
I
a
said
little,
when you had time to digest it, and you just said, don't put that in there.
it's on
Quote
tape.
of the day.
He's fun to have around.
If you want any copies of this, Dan, I've got them. And Stacy knows what you want. Yeah, we've got it, okay. Here, you do want a copy? Okay. Mr. Broyles, I see you back there smiling. Did you have anything to bring forward to court?
No, sir, I appreciate it, Judge.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else? We've got, I got to find my agenda. David, do you have anything?
No, sir.
Bill?
The last couple of weekends, Magistrate Hostetler and I have been out visiting some of our branches of local government. We've both hit the jail and we've both been to EMA. And I've got to tell you, I am well impressed with what's going on in both of those organizations.
Appreciate that.
I'd like to, well, I don't have to remind the court and the county of what a great loss the state incurred last week with the passing of former Senator Wendell Ford, and the great things that he did for not only the state of Kentucky, for the nation, and the legacy that he left. And I'd like to suggest today that when we do adjourn, we do in his memory, his honor.
Okay, appreciate that. Rick?
I just kind of echo a little bit about what Bill said. I got that opportunity to visit those groups. Also got to visit with Dave Sloan, some of his folks, a little bit. Impressed with what they're doing as well, and encouraged by the leadership in all of these areas. These folks I've met, got to meet with the county fire chief a few weeks back. Spent some time with him, assistant chief, and impressed about how they're running their organizations, and I think the county can be pleased as well, the citizens. We've got some good folks, good leadership.
Thank you. Alvin?
Just Jane's retirement brings something to mind that I've been thinking about for a while. We probably ought to sit down and put together a chart of people that are nearing retirement, that are in these leadership of these departments, and make some preparation. We don't want those to sneak up on us.
Yeah, this one hasn't snuck up
Yeah,
on us.
I know it hasn't, but this is not the only one we've got coming. We've got the other people that have been with us a long time, and we probably
Yeah,
ought to take an organized approach to listing those out, who we're looking at
Yeah.
next, and try to work on a plan. So if we could try to get together a chart of, who's getting close, or how far they are, something like that.
Even emergency services, not
Yeah.
just
Roads,
directors or, yeah.
all, throughout the
Those
entire.
that have all the knowledge.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're not easy to replace. Those people are not easy to replace, so we need to plan for that ahead of time. So it's something we need to start working on.
Okay.
I'd like to thank J.R. Brandenburg and his road department for getting the roads cleaned off, and so we're able to get to work and school, and hopefully that I can enjoy my days off in the summertime, not in the winter.
Rick and Bill, I've been meeting with all the department heads too, and all they want to tell me is how much they need. So-
We heard a little bit of that too.
That's the reason why I want you to go over how much we're gonna have coming in, but they do need it.
The whole purpose of our visit was just to learn
Yeah.
what they do, how
Sure.
they do it, what their needs are, and get a feel for what's going on out there. So I don't sit up here and make a
It's great,
statement
yeah.
that I don't know anything about.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've been accused of that already. I just don't want to have to be accused of that again.
Glenn?
I have nothing else.
Okay. Stacy? We need to have an executive session for personnel. So I need a motion.
Yeah, motion to go into executive session, to deal with personnel matters.
Okay.
Good second.
All in favor? Okay. Did, you didn't want to say something about that? Or you just got to?
I can,
No, I don't know what you need. All in favor? Okay. Mr. Burke, you have a motion?
Come out of executive session, yes.
No, I mean, I'm talking about
You
the,
wanna make a motion on
you
that?
said
Yeah,
out there.
I think, based upon the evidence we've been given and the fact that the person we discussed has been non-responsive, I'm gonna motion that we terminate his employment.
That's Joshua Rock. Is there a second? Any questions? All in favor? Okay, it's unanimous. Anyone have anything to bring before the court? Okay, we've got another issue Glenn wanted to go over real quick.
One thing that I've handed out, and take a look at it, or at these documents, the court was asked to put together an electrical inspector contract, and the court did in fact do that back in December. There's been some modifications requested now, and I don't have any issues with it. We had these prepared yesterday, so you could take a look at them, take them home with you and look over them, but essentially what you see in front of you, and Mr. Lyons and Mr. Livingston are already familiar with them as well as the judge, but there are 4 electrical inspectors that are certified that work at Toyota, and this document would authorize them to serve as electrical inspectors in Scott County, but for Toyota only. They're not out as electrical inspectors out in the other areas of Scott County. There's no monetary consideration being paid by the county. We're not obligated to do any of that, but this adds a couple of provisions in terms of identifying the fact that Scott County has no monetary obligation, first of all. Secondly, that there's a provision there that if certification is lost, either side can terminate the agreement with 90 days notice. And all the inspections and reports would be either retained and or submitted as required by Kentucky law. So those are some minor changes that have been requested in what has already been approved back in mid-December by the court. Take a look and I'll be happy to discuss anything with you, but this is something the court will need to consider for approval at its next meeting.
Any questions on that? I've got one I just happened to read here. It says, by municipal order passed on.
We did that back in December on the initial
Yeah.
contract. We did that by approval of the court, and I filled those dates in, but this is gonna have to be the next,
Okay. And
when it is
is it a
approved.
municipal order? Is that what it would be called, or executive order?
It's an order coming from the court, yes.
Yeah, okay.
But if you have questions on that, please call me.
Anybody else? Being no further business.
Well,